Now I would like to invite Dr. Eng Beng to come up. He's the Regional Manager of NVIDIA AI Technology Center. So Dr. Ng is the Regional Manager of NVIDIA Technology Center, and his role includes being an engineer, researcher, and ecosystem builder. His interests and work includes augmented intelligence, human AI collaborations, and together with him and his team, through strategic partnerships and collaborations with institutes of higher learning and industry and government agencies are making breakthroughs. So welcome, Dr. Ng.
Thank you very much. Let me make sure I stand at a place that I don't block my own slides. So thanks very much for everyone to be here with us today, and I just wanted to thank the organizers, Renee, James, and all the friends here. So I really enjoyed Brian's talk because I think that, while we touch on a similar topic, we are going to be really complementary, and it was almost like a tag team that was not planned for. So without further ado, let's dive in. Now, how many of us actually recognize the very old picture here? And perhaps we might be a bit surprised because aren't I supposed to be talking about this super futuristic, sci-fi-like, and super modern day generative AI? What are we doing with an old picture here? Now this picture here is what is known, or what was known as the ODVAC, the Ordnance Variable, Discrete Variable Automatic Computing. Now it was built by the University of Illinois. I believe it was funded back then by the military in the US. Now, never mind about this, but the success of this computer back then enabled the development of the ELIAC, which is known as the Illinois Automatic Computer. And ELIAC was basically used by this gentleman called LeHaron Hiller, the director of the Experimental Music Group, who used the computer to generate what is widely accepted today as the first computer-generated piece of music. So let's listen. So altogether, there were 4 pieces composed. Now this was the 4th and the final movement. And it was composed using probabilistic methods, not by human hands, not by known musical frameworks, methods such as, for those of you who are into this, things like your Markov chain, Monte Carlo methods. So enough about that. Let's move on a bit further, roughly about 2 years down the road, 1958, where this is where the foundation of modern AI, or deep learning, right, which is one of the most popular paradigm today as we know it, began. 1958, lots of history stories here. Now, again, funded by the Navy, this professor launched what we call the perceptron model, the Rosenblatt perceptron. Now, it was touted back then, 70 years ago, 60 plus years ago, to be able to speak, to talk, to learn by doing. Now, all of these things, as of today, is largely possible, with the exception of AI developing its own consciousness. But then again, who knows, right? So if we look at the right, fast forward to 2019, this was basically a tribute article to the very same professor who developed and invented the perceptron. And he paid tribute to him, saying that it was this which basically inspired the many brains in the next few decades to develop what we know as deep learning today. But of course, the PT back then was probably a bit too early, right? So what then is the difference between the perceptron back then and deep learning today? I think one of the key answers here is really scale, right? Scale. Whatever that deep learning is today, it exists in the forms of neural networks in the millions of parameters, even billions when we think about the likes of GPT-3, 175 billion parameters, compared to the few parameters back then. So if you were to ask ourselves what took it so long, I think the answer can be found in 3 parts. The first is the existence of large-scale algorithms in the form of deep neural nets. The second, the availability of big data. And last but not least, the availability of not just any compute, but accelerated and parallel computing, which is there to power up the training of these big models, these deep neural networks on a huge amount of data in a reasonable amount of time. So try to link this back to what Brian shared just now about things like your Azure compute powering up the research of OpenAI, so on and so forth. These are all highly interrelated, interconnected concepts. So without further ado, maybe let's take a seat back and enjoy this video.
I am a translator, transforming text into creative discovery. Movement into animation, and direction into action. I am a healer, exploring the building blocks that make us unique. Modeling new threats before they happen. And searching for the cures to keep them at bay. I am a visionary, generating new medical miracles. And giving us a new perspective on our sun to keep us safe here on Earth. I am a navigator, discovering a unique moment in a sea of content.
We're announcing the next generation.
And the perfect setting for any story. I am a creator, building 3D experiences from snapshots and adding new levels of reality to our virtual selves. I am a helper, bringing brainstorms to life. Sharing the wisdom of a million programmers and turning ideas into virtual worlds.
Build Northern Forest.
I even helped write the script. Breathed life into the words and composed the melody. Brought to life by NVIDIA, deep learning, and brilliant minds everywhere.
Okay, hope you all enjoyed the video because I thought it's a super succinct way of bringing us from the history all the way back to present day. All right. So at this point in time, I decided to ask what ChatGPT, what are you? What is generative AI? And I think we can see on screen really for ourselves that it managed to give a very human-like response on what generative AI is. And many of us have heard about ChatGPT, of course. That is at the forefront of all our mind shares. But I think it is very important for us to know that ChatGPT, a text-based generative AI, is not the only form of generative AI that is present and exists today. As we saw from Brian's presentation, it does coding. It can even generate images. It can generate images for medical purposes. It can also generate sequences like your protein sequences for the purpose of drug discovery. And so what we see here, I want to peel back the hood of generative AI a bit. What we see here is a very, very recent history of modern generative AI and how it progressed from 2014 until today. Unsurprisingly, it has its roots in natural language processing. But very quickly, as you can see, it branched off into other modalities, vision, and of course, vision plus language, which is what we are very familiar with today. So I took the liberty to kind of, categorize some of the most key fundamental AI technologies behind the generative AI use cases and the applications that we keep seeing today. We've got things like your diffusion model, we've got things like GANs, variational autoencoders, and of course, these models all have a similar goal in the sense that it tries to learn what is the underlying data distribution for the purpose of it being able to sample from and therefore generate new synthetic data. And foundation models, how can we miss that? Because that is the model that basically provides, in a way, the control or the guidance signal towards what kind of image we would like to generate. So vision plus language together. So in my concluding last few slides, I'm just going to let the video speak for itself. I will not play through every single one, but I hope that, in the last 5 minutes or so, you guys have a sense of how this technology comes to life. Text to 3D content creation, and this is called the Magic 3D. Now moving on, there is this other technology that enables us to feed it in with a small set of 2D images, and it generates a full 360 experience of a 3D scene. And this is called Instant Nerve. Okay, next, this is a picture of myself, and I put it through this technology called the Style GAN. And as we can see, it manages to morph me into a variety of shapes and forms and styles like Homer Simpson, Shrek, some vampires and werewolves, so on and so forth. Next, we have GANverse.
NVIDIA researchers have created a powerful breakthrough for 2D to 3D models. Now, it's possible to create a 3D animatable model with a single 2D picture. No 3D modeling software or experience required. It's automatic and easy. We call it GANverse 3D. Most images are captured in 2D. GANverse 3D gives creators in gaming, architecture, design, and more the ability to bring these 2D images to three-dimensional life in record time.
Okay. And I'm going to play this. This is the last video. This is called the Picasso. It was newly announced at GDC this year.
Generative AI is transforming how visual content is created. But to realize its full potential, enterprises need massive amounts of copyright-cleared data, AI experts, and an AI supercomputer. NVIDIA Picasso is a cloud service for building and deploying generative AI-powered image, video, and 3D applications. With it, enterprises, ISVs, and service providers can deploy their own models.
Okay, so that brings me to the end of my talk here with a last few concluding remarks to share with you guys. Now, we've seen the history. We've seen some of the technologies from the research that powers up many of these generative AI capabilities. But research is research. How do we bridge the gap? So from an NVIDIA standpoint, we are very vested in not just research, but also making these technologies, these capabilities available to everyday businesses. And things like the Picasso, the AI Foundation that we see on screen here, is one of our latest ways to do so, whereby we aim to bring some of those pre-trained AI models for generative AI purposes into the hands of businesses in an easy-to-use framework that is hosted on NVIDIA DGX Cloud. Okay? So I think with that, I hope that everyone, between me and Brian, you all got a very good picture about what generative AI is from the past to the present, and I hope this informs your future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ng.